That was the call to gather. Get ready to pray in as well. The shofar has blown. Can we all stand? Get ready to pray in, fellowship, praise and worship. Get this word.
Bitty bit.
Thanking the Most High for another Shabbat.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Mute your phones.
Yeah.
All minds clear? This is Deuteronomy or Devarim, chapter 6, at verse 4. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah Elohim, Yahuwah is one. Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael.
Yahuwah Eloheinu.
Yahuwah Elohim.
Yahuwah Echad.
Yahuwah Echad.
This is Exodus or Shemot, chapter 20, beginning at verse 3. We will have no other mighty ones.
We will have no other mighty ones
Against the Most High.
against the Most High.
We will not make any carved image.
We will not make any carved image
Or any likeness.
or any likeness
Of that which is in Shamayim above.
of that which is in Shamayim above,
Or which is in the earth beneath.
or which is in the earth beneath,
Or which is in the waters under the earth.
or which is in the waters under the earth.
We will not bow down to them.
We will not bow down to them,
Nor serve them.
nor serve them.
Yahuwah
For Yahuwah
is a jealous
is
thing,
a jealous one,
visiting the wicked,
visiting the wicked,
of the fathers on the children,
of the fathers on the
to
children,
the third and fourth
to
generation
the third and fourth generation,
of those that hate him,
of those that hate him,
with showing kindness
but showing kindness
to thousands of those
to thousands of those
who love him
who love him
and keep his commandments.
and keep his commandments.
We will not bring the name
We will not bring the
of
name
Yahuwah
of Yahuwah
to nothing,
to nothing.
for Yahuwah
For Yahuwah
will not leave us unpunished,
will not leave us
who
unpunished,
brings his name to nothing.
who brings his name to nothing.
We will remember the Shabbat day,
We will remember the Shabbat
to
day,
keep it
to
Kodesh.
keep it Kodesh.
6 days we will labor,
6 days we will labor,
do all our work,
do all our work.
but the seventh day
But the seventh day
is the Shabbat.
is the
of
Shabbat
Yahuwah.
of Yahuwah.
For in 6 days,
For in 6 days
Yahuwah made Shamayim
Yahuwah made Shamayim
and the earth
and the earth
and the sea
and the sea
and all that is in them.
and all that is in them,
And rested the seventh day.
and rest is the seventh day.
Therefore, Yahuwah Barak the Shabbat day.
Therefore Yahuwah Barak the Shabbat day.
We will respect our fathers
We will respect our fathers
and our mothers.
and our mothers.
Until the days are long
And our days are long
upon the earth.
upon the earth.
We will not murder.
We will not
We
murder.
will not commit adultery.
We will not commit adultery.
We will not steal.
We will not steal.
We will not bear false witness
We will not bear false witness
against our neighbor.
against our neighbor.
We will not covet
We will not covet
anything
anything
that is our neighbor.
that is our neighbor. Father, Yah, we give thanks for this day, for allowing us to come together, Father, to gather for your name's sake, Father. We ask with one heart, Father, and with one mind that you will hear our words, Father, and allow your Ruach, Father, to be with us on this day, Father. Allow utterance to be given unto the speaker and understanding unto the hearer, so that we all may be doers of your word. We pray and ask, Father, that you would allow your word to go forth and be received with thanksgiving and gladness, so that it could be applied in our lives, Father. That we would uplift your kingdom, Father. All these things we pray and we give thanks. Bashem Yehovah, Bekah Yehoshua, Hamashiach, Ruach HaKodesh, so be it.
So be it.
Hallelujah.
You there? Huh? End the service. You know what I'm saying? Tell me you got it.
All right, all who can and all who will. And I know we can do this, but sometimes you gotta ask them, will they do this? Can we just clap our hands for another blessed Shabbat? Not everybody can say that. Not everybody even knows what that means. Not even everybody knows that there is a mindset that this is the holy day. This is the day. This is the day we give high praise to. This is our rest day. According to the scriptures, the world will make you believe it's tomorrow, Sunday. I go to work on Sunday. I worship, I praise, I get fed, I rest on this day. So I don't take it lightly that I'm blessed to see another Shabbat. So much has happened all week. Like I said last week, if you just watch the news enough, you begin to thank the Most High. You begin to praise Him for your children being safe. You begin to thank Him for your safety. That a 5-year-old that got kidnapped, you may have seen it. That's not too far from where we live. And I mean, I'm out 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I heard about it. I'm on the lookout. I wanna find this kid. This can be one of our kids. Anything can happen. But today we're walking in victory. We're walking in victory. And it's a blessing to do so. It's a blessing to be here. If no one's excited, I am. I'm excited. I'm excited when I wake up, knowing I'm coming to do what I love to do. You know, it's just exciting. It don't matter to be in a small building or whatnot. The Most High can give us whatever He wants us to have. That's just how I live. I thank Him for just being in the truth, for knowing Him. Put this day aside for Him. A song called "Walking in Victory."
All right now.
And I come like to celebrate that. I like to celebrate the joy, the peace, the strength, and all the things that He's given me. Being mighty. Yeah, walking in victory. Yeah, walking in victory. Walking in victory. Walking in victory. Walking in victory. That's my joy back. Walking in victory. Walking in victory. Walking in victory. Got my peace back. Got my peace back. Walking in victory. Walking in love. Walking in joy.
Hallelujah.
Walking in peace. I didn't understand that some years ago. Somebody asked me a question. They said, man, would you want a bunch of money or a bunch of peace? And I said, well, money brings me peace. They said, no. For a minute. But when you're in the pursuit of something, you're going to keep floating around and taught it last week. How to do what we just don't know. But when you find that peace, when you find that inner peace in your home, on your job, going through daily walk, the peace of Yah, the joy of Yah. Think about it. Think about it. I'm trying to get y'all to just think about it. The joy of Yah, the happiness of Yahuwah is better than money. With the joy, with the peace, with the love of Him, there's opportunity that He can bring far better than money. I had to learn this. Walking in victory, walking hand in hand. Got my joy back. Got my peace back. Got my happiness back. Hallelujah. They told me I didn't have to rush worship anymore. I was flying through it. It had to be done. But you never know who comes in here and need a word, that need a special song. A lot of times it's me. I'm glad because I might be busy doing that, doing this. Sometimes it's hard. I need my brothers and my sisters. It's joy being with family. It's happiness. It's the ultimate love that we have to show. I was going to share something a little later. I'm going to share it now, right in this promotion. Called Brother Wow this week. And he taught a word. And he said something last Shabbat. And he said it, and when he said it with clarity. He said it with his mind made up. He didn't expound on it. He meant what he said. And without not going back out there, almost the way I was doing things. He didn't say anybody else. He said, I'm not. And so my wife and I were in the car. She said, did you catch what he said? I said, yeah. She said, but he didn't expound on it. I said, well, maybe the Most High is still using him to explain it later. I don't know. Tuesday comes. This was last Saturday. Tuesday, I'm in the car. And I'm meditating, doing my Uber thing, doing my Lyft. And the word that came last Shabbat hit me Tuesday. How did it hit you, Brother Johnny? Picked up a guy, and he had a 40-minute ride from his house to work. And I'm driving, and he gets there, and I'm 10 minutes in the ride. He says, are you Israelite? And before I asked him, I said, well, why would you say that? He said, well, there's a few phrases that you said. And I said, well, what did I say? He said, all praises. He said, the Most High. And I said, did I? Because I normally don't honestly talk like that. It's like, yeah, what up, though? And, try to talk because it's the passenger. He said, I think I seen your screensaver. And I know I got Israel on in the screensaver, but in the shirt I had on, you couldn't see the fringes because the fringes were small in this particular shirt. And when you're dealing with all this, you ain't gonna see no fringes on the front seat. So he went on, and 10 minutes later, we still traveling to his job. And he said, can I say one more thing to you, sir? I said, absolutely. He said, you are the nicest Israelite I ever met. I looked at him, I said, he said, man, you are the nicest, kindest Israelite I ever met. And I said, wow, thank you. But in an instant, I said, how embarrassing. You feel me? I said, what are we doing as a nation? What are we doing because we got fringes on? He's seen people out on street ministry dogging. He said, I stood out and I watched the group. And my wife was there. She wanted to learn. I said, well, let me ask you this. Are you Israelite? He said, no, I'm conscious. I said, okay. He said, I'm conscious by a lot of things. I said, okay. Then he said, well, I watched the group. And man, my wife had to walk off. Man, we got so beat up out there. When I say I don't want to see another Israelite, I left there angry, hurt, because I had questions and they was dogging me. They was saying this and saying that. And my wife got discouraged. He said, and to turn around, man, weeks later, meet a nice Israelite. I said, we missing it. We missing it. I know I'm fairly young in this, but I'm learning rapidly. And I caught Rob quietly, and he said, what a great testimony. And I said, I got it now. What you said last Shabbat, I get it. I can't go out there like the people I hurt. They hurt bad enough. People are confused. You put your foot on their neck, it's not helping them. You go on the hair. I understand correction. There's a way to correct. To have friends, you must first what? Show yourself friendly. I understand that we're in the truth, but we're not. Most High said, but you're not perfect. You ain't got it all together. We have to stop this, and that's why I'm coming in with we got a chance to praise the Most High. We got a chance to love on each other. We got another chance to do this. That's walking in victory. I walked in victory that day because this is the second person. It was another guy, 8 Mile. My wife showed me the homeless guy. This man, you may have seen 8 Mile in the living room area, had about 6 or 7 grocery carts. And I stopped and I talked to him. Talked to him twice. Gave him a piece of money. Talked to him about the truth. After I talked to him, he was almost crying. He said, can I tell your wife something? She was sitting in the car. He said, I'm sorry to bother you, man. But this is the kindest man, the kindest Israelite I've seen, I've ever talked to. Wow, I am so proud. And people are looking, they're watching. There's no goodness of my own. It's what the world is watching and what they're seeing. And when they see that, they put us all in one barrel. That we all supposed to be this, we all supposed to do that. So I'm saying, Israel, chosen seed. Let's walk in love. Walk in love. Walk in love. People are watching. Walk in love. What song is up here? Give me that joy. Come on, Larry. Give me that joy. Give me that joy. Let's go there. All right. Come on. Let's all join in. And, hey, Kena, how are you? Somebody like God, like God. Come on, everybody. I'm talking about there's nobody like that. I'm talking about yeah. Come on, put it up. You give me that joy. Give me that joy. Whoa. Give me that there's nobody like that. Nobody like God, like God. I'm talking about there's nobody like that. I'm talking about from the top. Give me that joy. Give me that joy. Give me that mercy. Whatever. There's nobody like God, like God. I'm talking about yeah. I'm talking about there's nobody like God. I'm talking about yeah. I'm talking about come on, D. Yeah. Your love is so amazing. Your love is so incredible. Your love is so amazing. Your love is so incredible. Let's get back to your love. Let's get back to your love. Your love. Your love is so amazing. Your love is so your love is so amazing. Your love is so incredible. Never give it up for your love. 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 Your love is so amazing. Your love is so incredible. Your love is so amazing. Your love is so incredible. Never give it up for your love. Never give it up for your love. Never give it up for your love.
Y'all say shot. Yahoo, Yahoo. When I say Yahoo, y'all say shot. Yahoo, Yahoo. Y'all say them the same. When I say y'all, it's missionary. Gotta put my hands up, get my knees up. That's what we need. So simple, to me and my heart. You do it every day. Then you know it in the top. Y'all gotta bring it down. Remember, for my soul, it's real life. I gotta get on my way home. To the kingdom. Step up, yeah, feel like, yeah, I ain't dealing with the demon. Sit back, boy, before you deal with the demon.
Oh my goodness.
Man. Ain't no party like a Tennessee party. No.
Yeah.
Think we can keep this on?
I just know it's gonna be strong.
Yeah, no, we want to go ahead.
Okay, that's what
You can turn that projector off if you want.
She got him. I gave him back to her.
Ooh. Ooh. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Man, that was A1, wasn't it?
Y'all was taking praise and worship.
All right.
So our next dynamic speaker.
All right.
None other. God's word!
Shabbat shalom. All right. So maybe a few weeks ago, maybe about 3 weeks ago, we was having a conversation in the brothers meeting, and we happened to be discussing James, the first chapter. So since it was my turn in the rotation, I figured I would beat Trav to using this as a lesson. Because me and him was debating as to who was going.
I said I was gonna drop this first. He stole it.
I'm pretty sure I came up with it, but
Boy, lesson jacket.
I beat Trav to the punch. He thought he was gonna get me. He asked me this morning, "Who dropping me and you?" Me. All right, so we're gonna start out in James, the first chapter.
I was on kid.
He tried, y'all. That nigga tried. James, the first chapter. We started the first verse. I'm sorry, verse 5.
That's just the truth. James chapter 1 and verse 5. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Elohim, that gives to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him.
Okay, so this verse says, if any man lack wisdom, or if any of you, lack wisdom, let him ask it of the Most High, and he gives to all men liberally. What does liberally mean? Gives it freely given, right? And upbraideth not. What does that mean? You don't hold back, right? And it shall be given to him. So, can I see a show of hands of any that have asked wisdom of the Most High? Did any of those who got their hands raised, did you receive wisdom from the Most High? Okay. How did you receive it? Did you read it?
He guided me to show me how to read.
Okay. Anybody else? You downloaded it? You downloaded the wisdom? Sister Michelle? Say again. You had to experience some things. Okay. Anybody else? What she said? Okay. So anybody besides Neil, you had it, did it download it right into you through that hole in the middle of your do-rag? From the cloud? Nah, so anybody who received wisdom from the Most High when you asked, did it just zap right into your head? Did it just happen? No? That's not the way we receive it? No? Okay. We're going to discuss this today.
You sure? Boy, are you sure?
Did it happen to you like that? You just pop in? And it just pop in? Okay. I'm going to show you something today, especially based on your testimony.
Hallelujah.
Okay. You might have came out from the wall. Okay. So first off, by the definition of wisdom, right? We ain't going to spend our time searching through the concordance. But it's you can check it out later. It's Strong's number H2451. Chachma. And it means skill, like as in like war, a skill, right? So wisdom, by definition, is sort of a skill. So let's go to Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 7 and see a couple of key verses that we have read in the past and applied, and let's see what the scriptures say about wisdom. Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 7.
Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing.
Now, what does that mean, the principal thing? The The main thing. It's most important, right? Chief, key. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom.
Therefore, get wisdom, because wisdom is the principal thing or the key component, right? So therefore, get wisdom and go ahead.
And with all you're getting, get understanding.
And with all you're getting, get understanding. Let's go Psalms 119 and verse 104. So with all you're getting, get understanding. Wisdom is the key thing. It's principle. I mean, the principal thing. Psalms 119 and 104.
Psalms, or Telahim, 119 and verse 104.
So it says in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7, it says, with all thy getting, get understanding. So it's anything that you get, you should aim for understanding, right? That should be your goal, right? Go ahead.
Through your precepts.
Through your what?
Through your precepts.
Now, what's a precept? Commandments, right? So a precept ain't just a verse, but it's a commandment. Through your commandments, or through your precepts, what?
I get understanding. Therefore, I hate every false way.
Because if it's the commandments, it's not a false way, but it's what? True. Facts. Let's go Psalms 111 and verse 10. I'm sorry, y'all can bookmark James chapter 1, because we're gonna be back and forth here the whole time. So just keep your finger there, put that little ribbon that's in your book, put that right in, just like that right there. Psalms
111 verse 10.
Verse 10.
The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom.
So when it says the fear of Yah, right? Are we talking about being afraid of the Most High in the sense that Yah gonna strike me down or something? Or what is this? Reverence. Exactly. Reverence. That type of fear. The type of fear that you would have for a parent, so to speak. But it's reverence, respect, honor, that type of thing. Go ahead.
The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom.
And that's the beginning of wisdom. So when you begin to fear and reverence the Most High for his position of being almighty in all things, right? And that's the beginning of wisdom, the very beginning. Go ahead.
A good understanding have all they that do his commandments.
And we just saw that through his precepts we get understanding. And it says a good understanding have all they that do his commandments. Go ahead.
His praise endure forever.
And his praise endure forever. Okay. So we're going to go back and start James from the beginning and see, leading up to that verse 5 when he talk about if anybody lack wisdom, let him ask of it. Let's go back to James chapter 1 and we start at verse 1. James chapter 1, verse 1.
James chapter 1 at verse 1. A servant of Elohim, of the Master, Yeshua HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Greetings.
So James is addressing who?
12 tribes.
The 12 tribes. So it goes without saying, but we read it here that James was aware that the 12 tribes had been scattered. Yeah. And his letter or his epistle is addressed directly to them, to the 12 tribes that's scattered abroad. Greetings. So if James was writing a letter to the 12 tribes that were scattered abroad, did he just write this letter and just keep it? What did he do? What do you think he did with the letter when he wrote it? He sent it, right?
He emailed it.
He sent it. So which means that he had to also know locations of where these people were as well, right? All right, just that's like off topic, but just something that we may not never consider when we read this. Yeah, so he sent there one of them bottles and just threw it in the Atlantic. So the Lord died. Chapter 2.
Verse 2.
Verse 2, yeah, I'm sorry.
My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations.
So we read this all the time, right? Count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations. So when you experience trials and tribulations and temptations, right? You're supposed to count it as joy. Verse 3.
Knowing this,
Knowing this is why you count it as joy. Knowing this, that what?
that the trying of your faith
Uh-huh.
worketh patience.
That the trying of your faith work patience. Go ahead.
But let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing.
And let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. Now, when it says perfect, what does that mean? Complete, right? That you may be complete and entire. If I say, I need that entire pie, you gonna give me a slice? Are you gonna take a slice off for yourself? Or do you give the whole thing, right? Complete. You give me the complete thing, right? So that you may be perfect or complete, entire, wanting nothing. Because if I'm whole, that means that I don't need anything from anyone else, right? I'm gonna read this out to Hallelujah. Let's grab Mark chapter 13 and verse 13. Keep your finger in James, of course, and I'm gonna read that chapter 1, verse 2 through 4 out of the Hallelujah. And it says, my brothers, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the proving of your belief works endurance. And let endurance have a perfect work, so that you be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing or lacking in naught. So read that, Mark 13 and 13.
Mark chapter 13 and verse 13. And you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But he that shall endure to the end.
What?
But he that shall endure to the end,
Uh-huh.
the same shall be saved.
So when you endure to the end, let's go back to James. Endure to the end. We know this verse. The same shall be saved, because we who have dealt with those that are still part of the Christian church use this verse to show that no one is saved right now, but you must endure until the end to be saved. So when I read this in the Hallelujah, and it says, knowing that the proving of your belief, or the testing or the trying out of your beliefs or your faith works endurance, right? It's just like when you go to the gym. When you go to the gym and you work a muscle, or you go to exercise or whatever, or let's say you run, whatever the case may be. When you first begin, you may be only able to run a little while. Like say we're running on a track, you might be able to run half a lap. But as you continue to work at it, that half a lap turn into a lap. And that one lap turned into 2 laps. And that 2 laps turned into 3, and so on and so forth, to the point where now I can run a full mile. I can endure, right, to run a full mile around this track and not cause me to be weary, right? So, but it comes through working, right? Through practice, so to speak. So when we speak about wisdom and we talk about wisdom as a skill, how does one obtain a skill? Exactly. In order to be skilled in something, you must continue to work at it in order to be skilled. When you first start, you say you're a beginner or you're a novice, right? You just start. But as you continue to, it's no different than with these scriptures. When we first got into the scriptures, you know, you understand the simple things, the milk. But as you begin to able to digest the milk, you begin to see and understand the more complex things, and you're able to digest the more complex things, right? It's the same thing. The more and more you practice at it, the better you get, to the point where now I'm skillful with it, right? So it's the same thing when it comes to wisdom. And when you ask of wisdom from the Father, you're going to understand what it's saying in verses 2 through 4 is that those diverse trials is what's going to give you the wisdom. You follow what I'm saying? We're going to see this as we go further on. Let's read. Let's start back at James chapter 1, verse 2.
James 1 and 2. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith work patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing.
Okay, so when you fall into those trials, allow these things to happen, understanding that it's working, it's practicing, it's trying your faith, right? Allow these things to happen, understanding that it's going to make you perfect or complete in the long run. Go ahead.
If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Elohim, that give to all men liberally
and upbraideth not, and it shall be given.
And if you lack wisdom, let him ask it of the Father, and he's going to give you this. He's going to try your faith, and that's what's going to build your wisdom. We're going to see this, because I know it's a verse that y'all may think is conflicting, but we're going to see it. We're going to read it. Go ahead.
But let him ask in faith.
But let him ask what?
In faith.
This is key right here, because a lot of people take this verse out of context, or this preceding verse out of context. But go ahead.
But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that waver is like the wave of a sea, driven with wind and tossed.
So when you ask of this in faith, believing that the Most High is going to give you the wisdom on this particular subject, don't doubt it. Don't waver. When things happen, when the diverse trials come, and you get to the point where you're like, oh my goodness, this is so much on me. You got to understand that wisdom is being imparted into you right now. That wisdom is having a perfect work in you right now. That wisdom is exercising your faith right now. While you on that bench, it's standing. Come on, one more. Yeah. It's working with you. So to allow your faith and your wisdom to build. Right? Go ahead.
For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the master.
So the one that wavers or the one that doubts, don't let not that man believe that he shall receive anything. Go ahead.
A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
So a double-minded, we read this verse all the time. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And we look at that to say, oh, are you confused about something? Or you changed your mind about something? Oh, you used to think like this. Now you believe it's this way. Oh, are you unstable?
Y'all brothers used to call on the higher.
But
now y'all call on the who.
Right. You are unstable and all. But understanding in context, what it's telling you, it's talking about somebody when wisdom is having its perfect work as it's speaking, and understanding that wisdom is being imparted into the person that has asked for wisdom. I understand. Right. We hear that all the time. Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it, right? So when wisdom is happening, you know what I'm saying? When you're receiving wisdom, right? It's like a tough lesson. But when you're receiving wisdom, it says, don't waver, don't doubt, but just believe in faith that it's going to happen. And then it goes on to say that the double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, stating that if you ask of it and then you doubt it, that's where the double-mindedness comes in. That's where the double-mindedness comes in, because you're not asking in faith, but you're doubting the Most High. So don't believe that you should receive anything. The wisdom is not going to come because of your doubt, right? So back to that, falling into the diverse temptations is the trying of your faith. That helps you to gain the wisdom, and we're going to see this. Let's go. Verse 12. So wait, before we go there. So say there's a brother or a sister who is new. Do we have anybody who's been in this walk maybe 5 or more years, 10 or more years, 10 or more years? 10, 5. Okay, so when you in this walk, right, you're going to encounter people who are freshly coming into this walk, like new, or they may be intrigued by the way that you move and they want to learn more, right? And they tell you, well, I'm dealing with this situation. I'm dealing with the fact that my parents are shunning me for the truth. What should I do? Should I conform or compromise? I'm sorry. Should I compromise and still attend holiday gatherings and still, do the things that I know that the scriptures say I shouldn't do, but should I do that to appease my family? If they come to you and ask you that, what would your answer be? Why would your answer be no? Not necessarily your particular reason, but your answer being no is based on what? But it's based on your own experience with the subject matter, right? So if somebody is coming to you with an issue, it could be whatever the issue is, but if they come to you, how are you able to tell them how to overcome if you never experienced it yourself? right? So that what you give them based on your own experience is what? Wisdom.
What qualifies you to answer that question?
Exactly. It's wisdom because you've been through it. So now I know how to conquer it, right? This is like when we used to play the video games back in the day. Like, oh yeah, I played this board before. You got to do this. You got to go through the warp zone. What's that, Mario? You got to go through the warp zone, or you would jump right to the end. Remember that? We could cheat Mario. But if you had never done it, you don't know. Verse 12.
Verse 12. Increased is the man that endures temptation.
That does what?
That endures temptation.
So the same thing we see in Mark 13 and 13. He that does what unto the end? Endures unto the end. That same shall be saved. So in order to receive that salvation, we must continue to endure. So it says, increased is the man that endures the temptation. Go ahead.
For when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life.
What is the crown of life? Salvation. Go ahead.
Which the master hath promised to them that love him.
Uh-huh.
Let no man when he say when he is tempted, I am tempted of Elohim. For Elohim cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempt he any man.
So we just read that count it all joy when you fall into diverse trials, understanding that the work is faith, right? And that Yah gives you these trials liberally. But then we read here when it say, let no man, when he is tempted, say that he is tempted of the Most High. And it sounds conflicting, right? We're going to continue to read. Go ahead.
But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust.
When every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust. Go ahead.
And enticed.
Go ahead.
Then when lust hath conceived.
Go ahead.
It brings forth sin.
So, drawn away, enticed, conceived, and then sin comes, right? 4 little components. Go ahead.
Then when lust hath conceived, it brings forth sin. And sin, when it is finished, bring forth death.
I'm sorry, there's 5 components. You got death after the sin. Go ahead.
Do not err, my beloved brethren.
Okay. Let's grab Isaiah chapter 63 and verse 17. Yep, 63 and 17.
Isaiah chapter 63 and verse 17. Y'all say hallelujah, y'all made it.
Hallelujah.
O Yahuwah, why have you made us to err from your ways?
Read it again.
O Yahuwah, why have you made us to err from your ways and harden our hearts from your fear? Return for your servant's sake the tribes of your inheritance. The people of your Kodesh have possessed it.
That's good right there. So what is this person doing right here? He's blaming the Most High, right? But was it the Most High that caused Israel to sin? Or did he just lay down a punishment for sin? Right? So when we read that, let no man say when he is tempted of the Most High. You can't blame the Most High when you receiving punishment for your transgression, right? You cannot blame him. It happened just like we sit, you have brothers who will sit up and they'll blame, they'll place blame on the white man or whatever man, whatever color man, right? But it was actually, if we had maintained our status, what we were supposed to do, that we would have been fine, as a people, right? Let's grab Genesis chapter 2, verse 15. We're going to see this, just a couple of examples in scripture. One way and one the other way. Yeah, we got it.
Genesis or Bereshit chapter 2, verse 15. And Yahuwah Elohim took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it.
So when the Most High took Adam, he put him in the garden to dress the garden and to keep it. Now, anybody know what that keep means right there? guard, right? Protect. The same way we're supposed to keep the commandments, guard, right? Go ahead.
And Yahuwah Elohim commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat.
He did what?
And Yahuwah Elohim commanded the man.
Commanded the man. He gave him a commandment before, this is before the 10, right? Before, when he first placed him in the garden, he commanded the man to do what?
Saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of it. For the day that you eat thereof, you shall surely die.
Simple instruction, right? Of every tree in the garden you can eat, except that one. Because in the day that you eat, then you shall surely die. Instruction, precept, commandment, yeah? Genesis 3 and verse 1.
Genesis, or Bereshit 3:1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, if Elohim said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die.
So she put a little extra instruction on there, understanding that we got to understand that when the Most High gave that commandment, he gave it to whom? In chapter 2, he gave that commandment to whom?
Adam.
To Adam, right? So who did Eve receive the commandment from? Adam. Okay. Go ahead.
And the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die. For the Most High know that in the day that you eat thereof, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw.
When the woman did what?
And when the woman saw.
And when the woman saw what?
That the tree was good for food.
So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, right? It says that when every man is tempted, he is tempted because he is drawn away by his own lust. The lust of the flesh and the lust of the. So when she saw that the tree was good, right? Go ahead.
When she saw that the tree was good for food and that it was pleasant to the eyes, a tree to be desired to make one wise.
A tree to be what?
To be desired to make one wise.
The tree to be desired to make one wise, right? So when he is drawn away by his own lust and enticed, right? Go ahead.
She took of the fruit thereof and did eat.
And when she took the fruit, it say, and then when the desire is conceived, right? And then it brings forth sin, right? So she took of the fruit and then eat. Desire, conceived, ate, sin, right? And then once the sin came forth, what was the result of Adam and Eve's condition?
Yeah.
They began it, and when sin comes, then comes death. Notice, the Most High did not tempt her to do this. She was drawn away by her own lust, and all it took was the serpent to say, you ain't gonna die. That's all it took. The Most High, or Adam, who in this particular, I guess in his status as in the hierarchy as it goes at this point, he was just like the Most High to her, because she was given to him to be his help, right? So when she was told, don't eat it, don't even touch it, or you're gonna die, that should have been enough for her to just be like, listen, serpent, I know what I'm supposed to do,
buddy.
You know what I'm saying? Go get up out of here. But she didn't. She got enticed, right? Let's
Yeah, that tree for a minute.
right. Let's go to let's go to Acts chapter 10. We're going to Acts chapter 10. We get to the other one too. Just a couple more. Acts the 10th chapter. Verse 9.
Acts of the Apostles, chapter 10 and verse 9. On the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew near to the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour.
Are we familiar with this story, yeah? Okay. It'll be easy to understand. Go ahead.
And he became very hungry and would have eaten. But while they made ready, he fell into a trance. And he saw Shamaim open, and a certain vessel descending unto him. And it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners, and let down to the earth, wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, Not so, master, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean.
So when the voice said kill and eat, Peter was conflicted. He was like, no, because I know that the law says we ain't supposed to eat anything that is common or unclean, right? Go ahead.
And the voice spake unto him again in the second time, What Elohim had cleansed, that called not you common.
Uh-huh.
This was done thrice.
So the voice gave clarity to the vision, right? What the Most High have cleansed, call you not that common. Go ahead.
This was done thrice, and the vessel was received up again into Shamaim. Now while Peter doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should mean,
So Peter was conflicted. He didn't understand what the vision meant. Go ahead.
behold, the men which were sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon's house, and stood before the gate, and called, and asked whether Simon, which was surnamed Peter, were lodged there.
Verse 22.
Verse 22. And they said, Cornelius the centurion, a just man, and one that feared Elohim, and of good report among all the nations of the Yehudim, was warned from Elohim by a Kodesh Malach, or Malach, to send for you into his house, and to hear words of you.
So this man Cornelius, it says that he was a centurion, a just man, and one that fears Elohim, right? So understanding that Cornelius may have been of another nation, however, if he feared the Most High, he would have been cleansed, so to speak, right? Verse 25.
Verse 25. And as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him, and fell down at his feet, and worshipped him.
And just to clarify, not just feared the Most High, but feared the Most High and done those things which are evident of the fear of the Most High, keeping the commandments and all of the things that we said, what we saw, what we read in previous verses, not just the fear, but everything that goes along with it. 26.
But Peter took him up, saying, Stand up, I myself am also a man. And as he talked with him, he went in, and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, You know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is Yehudi to keep company or come unto one of another nation?
Because one of another nation would have been considered common or unclean, right? So it was unlawful not from a sense of where it's written in the law, in the Torah, but unlawful from the sense of what was oral law, right? That's an unlawful thing as far as oral law go, oral tradition or Talmudic custom. Go ahead.
But Elohim have showed me that I should not call any man.
But Elohim have done what?
Has showed me that I shall not call any man common or unclean.
Any man common or unclean. So Peter understood the vision at this point, that this vision was about a man and not about food. However, when he was shown the vision, if he had just flew off and been like, okay, yeah, I am hungry, I could eat, like, go ahead and slice me a couple of them, and just ate those things which were outside of the confines of Torah, he would have been in the wrong, right? But what he did was he pondered on it, even though he was confused, and until he understood the vision, and that vision materialized later on. So we have to understand that we have to be patient when it comes to these different things. Then when we experiencing these things, we can't just fly off and say, okay, this is the thing to do, especially if we're not fully convinced or understanding of what's happening. If we experience something, it's like something like a vision or whatever experience may be, and we like, oh, that's it, and I just run off and do it, as opposed to waiting until you get clarity. And when it comes to whatever it is, whatever the experience may be, we got to be clear on what it is that we should do before we move, right? Let's grab Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 14. So, like I was saying before, that about wisdom being a skill, and how do we obtain a skill? But we obtain it through practice, right? And we see, matter of fact, let's read this first.
Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 14. There was a little city, and few men within it. And there came a great king against it, and besieged it, and built great bulwarks against it. Now there was found in it a poor wise man.
A poor but wise man. Go ahead.
And he held by his wisdom delivered the city. And he by his wisdom delivered the city.
And he by his wisdom delivered the city. Go ahead.
Yet no man remembered that same poor man. Then said I, wisdom is better than strength.
Wisdom is what?
It's better than strength.
Uh-huh.
Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard.
Verse 18.
Verse 18. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroyed much good.
Okay, let's grab 1 Samuel chapter 17. So I want to share something with y'all, right? That was Ecclesiastes 9 and 14. So 1 Samuel 17:38, I want to share something with y'all. So when it says that wisdom is better than strength, and wisdom being something that you work at to become skillful, right? So when I was in high school and in little college, I played some football, right? And normally you think football, people, strong, big, all this stuff. When I played ball, I hated to lift weights. I could not stand it. I made every excuse not to do it. I would never go to the weight room. I was like a pretty good student, but I used to tell them, oh yeah, I got to go to tutorial. Because I know if I went to tutorial, I would miss weight training and I could just go straight to practice. I never liked lifting weights. But at this stage, I was probably just as strong as, I wasn't as strong as most of the guys, but I had better technique. My technique was far superior to a lot of them. And so I was better than them because I was more skillful than them. They were stronger than me, but it's just like this. If it was all about strength, the majority of any sport would be spent training in the weight room, right? It's not though. Because when you own a field and you're at practice, they teach you things like get low, leverage. This is how you tackle. It's about technique. Technique is far outweighs strength. I mean, period. Technique will beat strength any day if your strength is comparable to the next person and you got better technique, you're gonna win. I guarantee you. But I say that to say this: that when you're talking about wisdom and using wisdom as a skill, knowing and understanding how to use something and having good technique is better than being extra strong about something. We're gonna see this. Let's read 1 Samuel chapter 17. Let's start at verse 38.
1 Samuel chapter 17, that's verse 38. And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put a helmet of brass upon his head, and he also armed him with a coat of mail.
Okay, so this is when David was about to go fight Goliath, right? So he said that Samuel gave him his armor, he gave him a coat of mail, and he armed him, what it say else? His helmet of brass upon his head. Verse 39.
And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go.
Okay, so when he gave him a sword, he had the armor, he had the brass helmet. According to what we know, what a warrior needs, he was ready for war, right? But it says that David essayed to go, which means he didn't want to go like that, right? Go ahead.
For he had not proved it.
He was not skillful with using a sword or wearing armor or a helmet. So he was like, nah, I haven't tested any of this stuff. I can't go into war like this because it's untested. If I go in like this, I'm going to lose, right? Go ahead.
And David said to Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off of him.
So he said, because they're not tested. I can't go into battle with this. So he took it off. Go ahead.
And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out the brook. And he put it into a shepherd's bag which he had, even in the scrip. And his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine.
So it say he drew near to the Philistine. Keep reading.
When the Philistine came and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog, that you come to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. The Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I'll give your flesh to the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field. And David said to the Philistine, You come to me with a sword and a spear and with a shield, but I come to you in the name of Yahuwah Elohim of hosts, the Elohim of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day will Yahuwah deliver you into my hand.
Verse 48.
And I will, verse 48. Boy, took out the good part.
Go back and read it.
Read that part. There you go.
This day will Yahuwah deliver you into my hand, and I will smite you and take your head off your head.
Take your head off.
Take your head off your head. And I will give your carcasses to the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is an Elohim in Israel. Verse 48.
Verse 48.
And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew near to meet David, that
David did what?
Hasted and ran towards the army to meet the Philistines.
So David wasn't afraid at all. So when the Philistine drew near, that David ran toward the Philistine, right? So just to backtrack a little bit, when David was like, I can't go in a battle like this because I haven't tried it. I'm not skillful with this sword, with this armor at all, because I ain't never used it before. And it say he took it off of him. And he went into battle with what? His sling, and his shepherd bag, and his staff. And he chose 5 smooth stones, right? Why do you think he did this? Why do you think he went into war like that? Yeah, what Brother Larry said. But no, yeah, because go back and read verse 37.
Verse 37. David said, Moreover, Yahuwah has delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear. He will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Shaul said unto David, Go, and Yahuwah be with you.
So when David had already experienced going into, like Brother Larry said, going into it, getting into it with a lion. Now, do we know anybody else that killed a lion in Scripture? It's a couple, but one very
Samson,
with his bare hands, killed the lion. You had to be who did he say? You had to be kind of you had to be a bad man to kill a lion. But David, being a boy, had killed a lion and a bear. So how do you think he killed this lion and bear? The same way. He like, the Most High done already delivered me out the hands of this lion and out the hands of this bear, and he gonna deliver me from the Philistine. So this is how I'm gonna go at him. The same way I came at the lion, the same way with those things that I'm skillful with, right? And we know the story that he used the sling, he hit him in the head with the stone, and it was a wrap.
Yeah, the first pistol.
He let off shots. So
hollow tips.
and it said it sunk right in. But he chose those things that he was skillful in, right? So when like I said, when we're talking about wisdom, right? And wisdom, being able to receive wisdom through the trials and the tribulation, he understood that when he was going to go against this Philistine, he needed to use the weapons that he had already tested and tried and was skillful with using, right? You can't go into a situation unskilled and think that you're going to use something that you're unskilled in order to win a war, a battle, or a fight, or whatever it might be. We're talking now on a spiritual level. You can't step into a fight on a spiritual level and be unskilled and think that you're going to come out victorious, because you're going to try to put on the full armor of the Most High and you ain't going to know how to work it. I ain't never used this before. What this shield for? Breastplate, I got this around my leg. What am I supposed to do? Because you unskilled. You don't know how to use it. But when you try these things, right, and allow these things, allow to have its perfect work in you, making you complete, whole, right?
Yes, sir.
Then when the test and the trials, let's get Matthew chapter 4. When the test and the trials come up against you, then you know this is the weapons of that I have to use. The weapons of our warfare are not what? But what?
Spirit.
Right? We have to be skillful in using the weapons that the Most High gave us for warfare. Matthew chapter 4, I believe, verse 1.
Matthew chapter 4, verse 1. Then was Yeshua led up of the Ruach into the wilderness to be tempted.
To be what?
To be tempted
Uh-huh.
of the adversary.
Mm-hmm.
When he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward hungry. And when the tempter came to him, he said, if you be the son of Elohim, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said,
But HaMashiach answered him and said what?
it is written.
It is what?
It is written.
It is written. His response came from, it is written that what?
Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceed out of the mouth of Elohim.
Uh-huh.
Then the adversary take him up into a Kodesh city and set him on the pinnacle of the temple and said unto him, if you be the son of Elohim, cast yourself down, for it is written. He hit it right back there.
Mm-hmm.
For it is written, he shall give his malak charge concerning you, and in their hands they shall bear you up, lest at any time you dash your foot against the stone.
So when the adversary came back for a second go round, he hit him with it is written, right? He tried to throw something at him. And what's the response?
Yeshua said unto him, well, it's written again, you shall not tempt Yahuwah your Elohim. Again, the adversary taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain.
So when he tried to come at him the second time, he came at him with word, which lets you know that sometimes when you're dealing with these diverse trials, sometimes it's going to come with this. If you are not skillful with this, you will be, what it say, tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine. You'll be thrown off because you don't know. So they was using the Bible. Well, they is an Israelite. Well, it must be true but it's all because that you don't have the understanding to combat what's coming at you, like Mashiach did. He knew the scripture better than the adversary. So when the adversary came at him with scripture, he was able to say, nah. But over here, it's written to say that, so what you're doing is still not off. I mean, it's still off. Go ahead.
The adversary taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and show him all the kingdoms of the world, and the esteem of them, and saith unto him, all these things will I give you, if you will fall down and worship me. Then said Yeshua unto him, get you hence, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the master your Elohim, and him only shall you serve.
That's good. So I want to just touch on a principle right here. It says, and then the devil will take him up into an exceeding high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and the esteem of them, and said unto him, all these things will I give to you if you will fall down and worship me. So in our everyday quest, right, for pursuit of happiness, Yeah. It's we can get sidetracked easily to believe that happiness can be obtained through financial gain and stuff. Yeah. And we'll have people to say, if you just follow this or do this, you gonna gain this, right? You go, look at all this money I made. Just follow me and do what I did, and you're gonna get all this money. Is that not similar to what the adversary just did? If he just said, but he said, bow down and worship me. But when you follow another person to the point where you make the Most High secondary, what you doing? What you doing? You don't put another person in place of the Most High in search or pursuit of financial gain. This and Mashiach came back and told him, like, nah, because it is written that you should worship only Yahuwah your Elohim, and him alone should you serve. Right? So when these people might come at you to entice you with financial gain, to say, hey, follow me. I can show you how to 10 steps to where you can be flipping houses and doing this and that. And now this becomes secondary. And I'm reading only this book that teach me how to become a real estate mogul. But now I ain't reading this no more. Or now I'm reading this to say, oh, well, I can find out how to do whatever. And I can, oh my goodness, I'm trying to have a couple million. I can be a millionaire. But not understanding that if your satisfaction is here, and it's which we done talked about too many times, a couple weeks ago with the pursuit of happiness lesson, and we talked about joy and being satisfied and coming through self-satisfaction and self-gratification and all of these things, right? Be very mindful of anybody who tell you to follow them as opposed to following the Most High to gain something. Understand that when we talking about gaining something, this got to be in the forefront. This has to be priority number one. Y'all with me on that? All right. Let's go Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 13. Ecclesiastes 1 and 13.
Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 13. And I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom.
So this is Solomon, who is known to be what? The wisest man, right? So he said that he gave his heart to seek and search out wisdom. Go ahead.
Concerning all things that are done under Shamaim. This sore travail have Elohim given to the sons of man to be exercised therewith.
So if he gave his heart to seek and search out wisdom, what do you think that meant? What do you think that means, understanding what we've run through so far? He went and did everything. He went and experienced life like crazy in order to seek out and search out wisdom, right? Verse 17.
Verse 17.
Verse 16.
Verse 16. I commune with my own heart, saying, lo, I am come to great estate, and I've gotten more wisdom than all they have before me in Jerusalem. Yeah, my heart had great experience.
My heart had what?
Had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. And I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly.
To know wisdom and to know madness and folly. Go ahead.
I perceive that this also is vexation of Ruach. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increased knowledge increased sorrow.
Chapter 2, verse 1.
I said in my heart, go to now, I will prove you with mirth. Therefore enjoy pleasure, and behold, this also is vanity. I said of laughter, it is mad, and of mirth, what do it? I sought in my heart to give myself unto wine, yet acquainting my heart with wisdom, and to lay hold on folly, till I might see what was that good for the sons of men, which they should do under the Shamaim all the days of their life. I made me great works. I builded me houses. I planted me vineyards. I made me gardens and orchards. I planted trees in them of all kind of fruit. I made me pools of water to water therewith the wood that brings forth trees. I got me servants and maidens, servants born in my house. Also, I got great possessions of great and small cattle, above all that were in Jerusalem before me. I got me also silver and gold, peculiar treasures of kings and of provinces. I got me men singers, women singers, the delights of the sons of men as musical instruments, and that of all sorts. So I was great and increased more than all that were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me. And whatsoever my eyes desired, I got from him.
Whatever he saw, he said he obtained. He kept not from him. He did all of these works, obtained all these possessions, had servants and singers and fruit and all of these things, right? Go ahead.
I withheld not my heart from any joy.
From what?
From any joy.
Uh-huh.
My heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my portion of all my labor. Then I looked on all the works that my hands had wrought, and all the labor that I had labored to do, and behold, all was vanity and vexation of ruach, and there was no profit under the sun.
And there was no prophet. We're not talking about Isaiah, Jeremiah, not that prophet. There was no prophet, Profit, under the sun, right? Through all of these things, right? Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13. Because you can see, as you read through this whole book, you see the conflict, the back and forth, the experiences that he's going through, right? So Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13.
Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter.
So after all of this, it's a whole bunch more, he went on to say this. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Go ahead.
Fear Elohim
and
keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man.
Period. I gotta put it period.
Got all that stuff, all the stuff that he obtained that we probably had never obtained.
Right. But his conclusion was fear the Most High and keep the commandments. Because everything that he came across, he his vanity, his vexation of spirit, all of these things, it's not worth anything. At the end of the day, it's not worth anything. Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 12. We almost done, y'all.
Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 12. For wisdom is a defense, and money.
We good. Let's skip over that. Let's go back to James chapter 1, verse 17, and we're gonna just about close out.
James chapter 1 and verse 17. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and comes down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Of his own will begot he us with the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man work not righteousness of Elohim.
So why should we be swift to hear and slow to speak? Anybody? What's the point? Why? Anybody else? Clarity. Yeah. So what does being quick to hear and slow to speak, what does that allow us time to do? Exactly. It gives you time to think. Not when you're having a conversation with somebody and your goal is to, or the only thing that you're waiting for them to stop doing is talking so that you can respond and make your point. You know what I mean? Yeah, I hear you, but listen to this though. You ain't really hearing the person. You only letting them finish talking just so you can respond because you want them to hear you, which is crazy. Yeah, we can't. What can we the Most High say? Let us reason together. Now, if the Most High can say, "Let us reason together," then what should we do? When we talking about our brothers, our sisters, our husbands, our children, our parents. We can't reason with our own people, right? Proverbs 18:13. Hold your finger there. Proverbs 18:13. We're gonna hit a couple of scriptures here and then go back.
Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 13. He that answer a matter before he hear it, it is folly and a shame unto him.
It is what?
A folly and a shame unto him.
When you just listening to respond and you answer a matter before you hear it, it says folly and shame unto you. Proverbs 10 and 19.
Proverbs chapter 10, verse 19. In the multitude of words there wanteth not sin, but he that refrain his lips is wise.
He that what?
Refrain his lips is wise.
And hallelujah, it says, when words are many, transgression is not absent, but he who restrains his lips is wise. So understanding that when you got a lot to say, it says transgression is not absent, which means that it's present, right? But if you restrain or refrain from talking, then that's a wise move. Let's go back to James. Let me ask y'all a quick question. So we all have heard the phrase that knowledge is power, yeah? Is it?
Yeah.
Knowledge is power?
You sure?
You sure?
Anybody agree that knowledge is power? You agree?
Book chapter and verse.
Is knowledge power?
I'm gonna say yeah.
You say knowledge is power.
Messiah is knowledge.
Messiah is knowledge. Anybody else? Knowledge is power? Don't nobody agree that knowledge is power? Okay, I got two. I got some doing this. It might be. I'm on the fence.
Everybody who said it.
I'm on the fence.
Sure?
Okay, we got one brave one that's holding her hand up. Like, yes, knowledge is power.
I'll say it's a trick question.
It's a trick question. No trick questions. No, it's not. I'm just asking you. Do you agree? Do you agree, yes or no, that knowledge is power? Yes.
No, ain't no depend.
All right, let's go back to James chapter 1, starting verse 21. Because we hear and we receive knowledge, right? Every week, understanding, knowledge, all of that stuff, right? Are we receiving power? Yeah? No? No? You don't think so? Say that again. Say to the people in the back here. So knowledge within itself is worthless. Applied knowledge is power.
Practical application.
It's not a trick question. Nobody else was fooled. So you good, brother?
Yeah, but it is knowledge, but it's finding it correctly.
Yeah.
Wisdom is actually the proper application of knowledge.
There you go.
Finding it correctly, it may not be correct.
So you're a skillful man, right? You have a skill, yeah? Okay. So it's a bunch of things that you know how to do, yeah? But if you never did it, what do it profit? If you apply the knowledge that you have, then you can build, you can, there's a lot of things that you can do. You can build, you can tear down. Like, is there not a process even when you're doing a demolition? Do you just take a sledgehammer to everything? Is that the only tool in your demo box? It's other tools, right? But it's like people would feel like it's demolition. I should just be able to take this sledgehammer and whatever it is that I need removed, and then I'm good. Is that the way it works? It doesn't work that way? It's a what? It's a process. Yeah. And if you like you said, like Trav just mentioned, a load-bearing wall, if you were to hit a load-bearing beam, what could possibly happen? It would collapse, right? Yeah. So even if you knew this, but you didn't apply it, worthless. and don't apply it. Just like you know these commandments and don't apply them. Like it's a bunch of stuff in this book that we know. Like we sit here every week and we getting good food every single week, but it can't be used. But it's like we getting this plate of good food that served up to us, and we do this with it and just toss it in the trash. We're not eating it. I'm just saying, we're not eating it. The food is being served, but if you're not eating it, it can never, the nutrition can never be received in the body. You follow what I'm saying? The whole point of the food being served is so that we can eat, so that our bodies can be nourished, so that we can. What does nourishment do for you? You tell your kids to eat their vegetables so they can do what? Grow, to be big and strong, right? You say your prayers and eat your vitamins.
You're absolutely correct. Because I know that when we come to listen, that food is very nourishing, and we power, we energize. But it only lasts for so long, though. Just like anything you eat, it only lets you burn the energy off, so you're back home again. So maybe you have to maybe meet up, like we have Thursday meetings, certain things you have to come to certain meetings just to get more food and personal study.
Yeah, that
energizing, and that keeps you moving out those elements that help outweigh it. Yeah, we can fall to the wayside after you.
That's the thing right there, the personal study. Because if you know that when we come here every Shabbat, right, after service, we got what waiting back there for us on the table. Ooh, we got a good meal, right? Waiting for you. You wait to come here every week for that meal to eat. Yeah. Is that the only meal you eat a whole week? Or do you feed yourself throughout the week? Right? You make sure that you feed yourself throughout the week. Like you're saying, you get the energy, but eventually it wears off. After he had his meal, eventually it wears off and the energy dissipates, right? But you don't wait until next week to come back here to eat again. You get up the next day and you fix yourself some breakfast. And then you have lunch. Because we need it to sustain life. Right? Where we at? James 1:21?
James 1:21.
2 more and we're going to be done.
Wherefore, lay apart all filthiness and superfluity or naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your soul.
Which is what?
Which is able to save your soul.
The word has the ability to save your soul if you allow it, if you apply it. Go ahead.
But be you doers of the word.
But be you what?
But be you doers of the word.
Uh-huh.
And not hearers only, deceiving your own self.
So that's why I bring up that point. So that we're not hearers only of the word, but doers of the word. We have to apply. There has to be application to this word in order for us to have any gain, right? It's just like, we have immersions, we go out, we get cleansed and everything, and then we don't apply the word. What's the point? What is the point? Right? There has to be application. Matthew 7:24.
Matthew over Yahoo.
And we close out after this last 4 verses.
7 verse, you said
24, 7 and 24.
7 and 24. Therefore, whosoever hear these sayings of mine and do them, I will liken him unto a wise man.
Y'all liken unto a what?
To a wise man.
So whoever hear these sayings of mine and do them is likened unto a wise man that did what?
Is likened unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock.
Who the rock? Go ahead.
And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon the house, and it fell not, but it was founded upon a rock.
Because when the storm comes, the storms come, we fall into diverse temptations, right? They come. But because our foundation is this rock, the house that you built, it don't move. Right? Go ahead.
And everyone that hear these sayings of mine and do them not.
But if you hear these sayings and you don't apply them in your life, is you what?
Shall be likened unto a foolish man,
which built his house upon sand.
Uh-huh.
And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon the house, and it fell, and the great was the fall of it.
And the house fell, and great was the fall of it. If you hear these words every week and you don't apply them, or if you know that this nutrition being served here and you don't be here, and you ain't feeding yourself every day, and the source that you get your nutrients from is not this source, it's you doing yourself a disservice, because all you eating is
Takis.
yeah, I was about to say junk food,
Takis.
pizza. you eat hot Takis every day. Hot Takis every day. Eventually, you're gonna be malnourished, and when the enemy come and speak a word to you, you're gonna fall for it. Or if he tell you, worship me, you will do it, because you're not nourished, you're not skillful enough, and you're not wise enough to know what you should and should not do, because you're not applying these things in your life, right? You know, we do that. That's the whole point of all this, like the application of the word of these different studies and classes and your self-study. It's like applying it in your life is the whole point. Like we can do the real easy stuff, like the practical stuff, like dietary law, fringes, like those is the easy things, because it's so easy to say that's a rib, a pork rib, and I'm not gonna touch it. That's bacon, and I ain't gonna mess with it. This is a shirt, and I can put fringes, or this, it's easy to do that. But what about the application when it comes to living, to what I'm saying, like the very basic principles of being a good person that follows the word and keeping other commandments. Like it's gotta be across the board. You know what I mean? And a lot of times we don't I guess we don't apply those the same, because it's not as, I guess, it's easy to apply something that you can't put your fingers on. You know what I mean? It's hard to bridle the tongue, and it's hard to subdue your emotions when things take place, in order to practice these different principles and values that the Most High gave us, right? So I'm opening the floor up for questions. That's it.
Real quick, let me say another thing. What was the benefit of having like what people would call OGs in the hood or in the neighborhood? What's the benefit of having those type of people around? Put you up on game, right? They have been through some stuff. Hey, young boy, you don't want to do that because this gonna happen. Man, you just old head, man. You don't know. And you come back and you like, man, OG, you was right, dog. I should have listened, right? Same thing with older mothers, you know what I'm saying? Grandmothers, aunties, uncles, the whole nine, right? What do you think the reason for Yah putting your Ecclesiastes, your Proverbs, all of that into the scriptures was? Solomon went through so much stuff so that we don't have to. It makes no sense. He like literally giving us the game. You know what I'm saying? He worked for that wisdom. You know, y'all gave it to him, but he went to search to apply it. You know what I'm saying? So when we got this stuff sitting in here and we leave that meal untouched, uneaten, now we got to learn the hard way. Now when we go through it, we go back and read it like, oh, it's saying right here. Right? I mean, if you put this wisdom in you, you'll be able to see that thing coming like, nope. Solomon went through that with that woman. Nope. Right? That woman, yeah, she's too beautiful. I ain't just about to jump in there. Let me see what her brain like. Right? Same thing when it comes to just any principle in life. We got the way right here. Right? Wisdom is the principal thing. With all you get understanding. He told you that your wisdom was what? Y'all know? What did he tell you your wisdom was amongst the nation? The commandments. Right? So when we looking at this stuff and we looking like, okay, well, he said, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. Dang, look, Solomon did it. Woo, that brother did that too. Look what happened to him.
This is what it's for. Romans 15, real quick. Romans 15. This is to prevent you from having to go through a lot of the stuff that you go through and bump your head for, but you got to read it. And then you have to start to apply it. Like the author saying, don't come here one day a week or come on Bible study on Thursday and then he like, oh yeah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Or watch YouTube videos for, 4 or 5. Like it's a difference when it's talking about eating stuff, right? Like we can eat junk food and be full every day, right? Eat junk food, eat junk food, eat junk food, and it don't sustain you. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep going back to get more junk food. But once you change your diet, if anybody change their diet to raw fruits and vegetables, at first when you eat it, you eat a lot of it to keep up, but after a while, you don't really need that much because it's sustaining you because of the type of stuff that you put in you and it's working in you. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with the book. If you start to really read it and apply it, it's going to fill you and it's going to sustain you until the next time you have to fill up. You know what I'm saying? You'll mess around and forget to eat if you diet, right? Romans 15 and 4.
The book of Romans, chapter 15, and verse 4. For whatever is written before was written for our instruction.
The stuff that was written aforetime was written for
instruction.
And KJV it says written for your learning, right? For what?
That through endurance.
Through what?
Endurance.
Endurance. You see the stuff going on. If you apply it, you will be able to do what? Endure. It says endurance. What else?
And encouragement of
and
the
what?
And encouragement.
And encouragement of the what?
Of the scriptures.
That you what?
We might have the expectation.
That we might have expectation or that we might have hope. This is what you look to. This is what you look for. You know what I'm saying? But you got to be able to go in here and get it. You know what I'm saying? That's not to say you don't call somebody that you know that may be knowledgeable in a situation or whatever. But you have to get this wisdom while it's able to be got. Right? Go ahead.
And the Elohim of endurance and encouragement give you to be of the same mind.
To give you to be of the what?
Of the same mind toward one another, according to Mashiach, Yahushua.
Okay. That's it. But yeah. It's in here for a reason. Solomon went through what he went through so you don't have to go through it. Read up on it. You know what I'm saying? That's all I got.
What you got, brother?
We go to 1 Samuel 17 and 44.
1 Samuel 17. Do we need to have a mic?
I think everybody here.
1 Samuel chapter 17
Running
and
from
verse
the mic.
44.
Running from that mic.
Yeah, they sunk down in that seat. What you ask for?
Man, you know what I'm saying? Hey, brother, come on, we got to keep running.
My brother's a cow with that mic. No.
And the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give your flesh unto the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field.
So, from what I understand, Goliath and the Philistines, they have a lot of understanding of the Hebrews, and Goliath may actually be related to David somehow, correct? Right, I heard that before. So, with that being said, was he quoting the Torah to David right there?
What part of
This is something.
The curses? Telling him he was about to destroy him?
Nah, I think he was just coming at him like,
I don't think they would have had a
I'm gonna
copy.
kill you, and I'm gonna feed your flesh to the birds. You know, catch me on the move. I'm gonna feed you to the dogs.
Yeah, I just know in the scripture, the same words, they kind of mean something. As far as I just
Nah, because remember, read down to verse.
You say by his God, by their gods. He cursed them by their gods.
Not that part.
that question too. Was he talking about his God or was he talking about David's?
He's talking about the Philistines' gods.
Read verse 46. I read. It says, this day will Yahuwah deliver you into my hand, and I will smite you and take your head from you, and
And I will give your carcasses to the host of the Philistines this day, unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the earth. And that the earth may know that there's a God in Israel. So he hit him with the same thing. But you know, they ain't going through no curses. You know what I'm saying? Not in Deuteronomy 28. So it was pretty much just saying, like, look, I'm going to kill you and feed you to the fishes. Not the fishes, literally, but you know what he said.
Yeah, boy, I asked a question, right? Yo, let me ask y'all a question. How was David really able to defeat Goliath? Straightforward question, no trick. How was David really able to defeat Goliath? Other than saying that Yah was with him. That's the obvious.
Goliath wasn't prepared. He was expecting David to be the skill.
You sure?
That's
Of course. So if we go back and look at some detail in this story, it'll reveal why David destroyed him. So this is why we do these stories and we always just read them and we top read and we don't pick out what's actually being said. It's a lot of stuff in the story that's just glossed over, right? But I know y'all hungry, so you want to eat or you want to eat? Okay. Let's jump back. 1 Samuel chapter 17. Let's go back. Go back to verse 1.
1 Samuel 17:1. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shechem, which belonged to Yehuda, and pitched between Shechem and Azekah. Excuse me if I'm saying this stuff wrong. And infested the feast the meat. And Saul said unto the men of the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set battle and array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on the mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on the mountain on the other side.
So sometimes you'll find out that your strength can be your weakness, right? So guys can be great with his left, but he don't work on nothing else. He's great with his left hand, but he don't do nothing else. Once you take the left away from him, it's useless. Read on.
And the Philistines stood on the mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on the mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath, of God, whose height was 6 cubits and a span, and he had a helmet of brass upon his head.
So depending on which translation you go to, this 6 cubit and a span either means 6'9" or 9'9". Read on.
And he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass.
It was what?
5,000 shekels of brass.
How much y'all think that weight in our time?
A lot.
200 pounds. 200 pounds.
It's 125 pounds. Right? Read on.
And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron.
How much?
600 shekels of iron.
600 shekels of iron. How much y'all think the head of this spear weighed? One more.
About 15 pounds.
15 pounds. Right? That's just the head of it. So we got the coat of mail on that weighs 125 pounds. Just the head of the sword weighed 15 pounds. Plus he got all the other stuff on him, right? The greaves on his legs, right? Read on.
And one bearing a shield went before him.
And what?
One bearing a shield went before him.
So it's somebody there with him, right? Why nobody don't point this out? It's somebody that's there in front of him.
They tried to jump.
That's going before Goliath. Read.
And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel and said unto them, why are you come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine? And he took his staff in his hand.
Took what in his hand?
His staff in his hand.
Okay.
And chose him 5 smooth stones out the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David. And the man that bare the shield went before him.
Again, somebody there's there with him, leading him. Read.
And when the Philistine looked about,
He did what?
looked about,
What does looked about mean?
looked out.
Said he looked about. So when it says in the neighboring cities which were round about, what does that mean?
Yeah, the audience.
So he know where he at, but it said he looked about. It's like he trying to search for him, right?
He was blind.
He couldn't see good. This is why it says he looked about. His vision is bad. This is why he got somebody in front of him leading him with his shield. This is why he need to fight close combat. Read on.
And saw David. He disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. And the Philistine said unto David, am I a dog that you come to me with staves?
With what?
With staves?
What does David have in his hand?
Staff.
A staff. He said staves. He's seeing double. His vision is bad. This is why he got somebody in front of him leading him with the shield. But he sees something else. He sees more than one. He sees staves. I'm a dog. You come out to me with sticks? Read.
And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give your flesh to the fowls of the air.
See, I want you to come
Come
to
to
me.
You're right.
Come to me. I can't really even see you good. I need you to come to me so we can fight close combat. Read.
And David said to the Philistine, you come to me with swords and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to you in the name of Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day will Yahuwah deliver you into my hand, and I will smite you and take your head from you, and I will give the carcasses of the hosts of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is an Elohim in Israel. And all his assembly shall know that Yahuwah saved not with the sword and spear, but the battle is Yahuwah's, and he will give you into our hands. And it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew near to meet David, that David hasted.
He did what?
Hasted.
He hasted. He's moving at a fast rate. But the Philistine got on what? He got on all that heavy stuff. All of this heavy, bulky stuff. Can't see good because the natural person would try to duck to get out the way. His vision is bad, and he got on all of this armor because he trusted in this stuff to save him when David got Yah. Read.
David put his hand in his bag and took this a stone and swung it and smote the Philistine in his forehead.
And where?
In his forehead.
In his forehead. Read.
That the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth.
He did what?
Fell upon his face to the earth.
So he fell on his face to the earth. He said, every knee shall do what?
Bow.
So even in death, the Philistine did what? Bow to him. Just like you're going to do with Mashiach. So this is just a picture of the end. But the reason why he was able to beat him like this, because the Philistine couldn't see well, and he had on all of that stuff. And he was a big, bulky, like a galoof type of big dummy.
And check it out. If he that tall, the person that was bearing the shield wasn't gonna be able to hold it up to his forehead.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
That's just a little.
if everybody else was afraid, if they would have just had the cojones to go out there and fight, they would have been able to see the same thing.
But they seen the size.
Right.
They was afraid off the size, off the rip. Oh man, that dude, he huge. And you see how big the sword is? David, you on your own, buddy.
It was intimidated by his size. That's what I had heard somebody mention a long time ago. Like the scripture never said that Goliath could actually fight, even though that people have been intimidated by his size. It was just catching L's off rip, just because of how big he was. But anybody else have any questions? I don't see no questions in the chat. What's up, brother?
I like the way you give that breakdown on that because I didn't catch it. A lot of that I didn't even catch it. So I like the way you broke that down.
Yeah.
That's why you paid for it.
That's what you paid me for.
Hey, what my man say? Clock in.
Clock me in.
Anybody else?
Anybody on the chat? There's a sister up here, Tanisha Rogers.
Yeah, that's the sister Tanisha. She been here.
Yeah. She said, pray for her.
Okay.
She said she's on her way to the
Hospital.
yeah, she's on her way to the hospital. Blood pressure.
Okay. All right, and then also let's the link to the for everybody that's watching, the link to the gathering is on the Eventbrite, where you can purchase the registration. You can get shirts. You can get the tickets for the gathering. They for what is it? 13 and up, $25, I think. And vendor tables if you're interested in coming and selling some items or presenting just some stuff. That's all available on Eventbrite. Detroit Hebrew Gathering 2019, or yeah, I think Detroit Hebrew Gathering 2019. I don't know if y'all had announced this already, but the skating party was a good success, right? Yeah.
Hallelujah.
You had fun. It was a success. Yeah, he was out there skating.
Watching, he told me he was skating east side.
Gathering is coming August the 16th through the 18th for that entire weekend. Is any other announcements? If you wanna donate, you can donate at PayPal, chosen.c1 at gmail.com. It's the same for Cash App. If you want to send a donation, you're more than welcome. I don't think it's something else. Huh? On the 9th. On the 9th, we are going to Cincinnati to keep the Feast of Weeks with Israel Now. If anybody needs a ride, and we're still trying to put that together for anybody that needs a ride. So we still have a list for those people who are able to drive, those people that need a ride. And if you are watching the stream and you want to come out, we're gonna be in Cincinnati having a good time for the Feast of Weeks on the 9th. I think that's it. Praise team rehearsal.
Y'all got a praise team?
Thursday. New music. There's new music coming Thursday for the praise team.
Praise team?
We got a whole squad out here.
And if you write your own music, come on with it.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, let's pray out, y'all. If anybody need that information for I got a flyer for the Israel Now. I got a flyer. I can send it to you via email. I can show it to you. I can send it to you.
Please, we can't stress enough.
What is Feast of Weeks? Oh, the 9th. June 9th.
We can't stress this enough.
Next weekend on Sunday.
If you need a ride or if you're driving, we're trying to go as a whole congregation. Please let us know if you're planning on attending. We need to know ASAP so we can get everything together as far as transportation. If you are driving or you need a ride, please let us know yesterday. Today.
All right.
So I pray I'll use it.
Ron, you on the praise team?
Father, Yah, we thank you for the word that went forth, Father. We pray and ask, Father, that it would fall on the good soil of our hearts, Father. That it would be watered, Father, that you would supply the increase, Father. That it may grow into something mighty, Father, that can be used for the uplifting and the upbuilding of your kingdom, Father. Father, we pray and ask, Father, that your word, that your word will continue that we would continue to have a desire for your word, that it would continue to nourish and sustain us, Father, bringing life and life abundantly, Father. Father, we pray that you would just help us to continue to apply your word, order our steps, Father, and be a light unto our path, Father. Father, we pray that your word will continue to take hold of us, Father, and overtake us, Father, that we will be diligent when it comes to our studies, Father, understanding that the closer we get to you, that the better off we will be, Father. Father, we pray for every soul that is gathered here today, Father, that you would just continue to build us up, Father. Continue to impart wisdom, Father. Allow us to know that when diverse temptations come, Father, that it is a joy, Father, understanding that it is making us complete and whole. Father, we pray for those people who are watching on the stream, Father, that they will continue to be edified, Father. We pray, Father, for Sister Tanisha, Father, who may be in the hospital right now, Father, due to some ailment, Father. We pray, Father, that you will give wisdom and understanding of what needs to be done, Father, in order to subdue the ailment, Father, that she may be brought back into right health, Father, and that her health will continue to strengthen, Father, according to your will. Ultimately, Father, we pray that you would just continue to be with us, allow your Ruach, Father, to be in our lives, Father. Continue to bring all things to remembrance, Father, and that your word would be ever present in our minds, and we will walk according to your word in all things. Father, we pray and we give thanks. So be it. Aminu Shiva Shemaim. Ikadosh. Shenka. Tavo. Bakuka. Yease. Ratsonka. Bares. Kasher. Nasha. Bashemaim. Tanglanu. Hayom. Liki. Ikan. Uslat. Lanu. Eight. Ashmatenu. Kaasher. Sokim. Anaknu. Nasher. Ashmu. Lanu. Wa'al. Tabinu. Lege. Mesa. Ki. Ni. Hasalanu. Mi. Ra. Ki. Lacha. Amam Lacha. Wahayibora. Wahatifare. Lobe. Ulami. So be it.
So be it. Hallelujah.
You're my life. You're my source. You're my strength. Everything. I call you holy. I call you faithful. I call you righteous. I call you life. Way. Truth. Everything about
I'm gonna go back and
Still on.